What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well today. I'm very excited that I finally get to try out this new Hurren track that released while I was away on vacation. It released pretty much as soon as I went, which was very frustrating. I am definitely a massive Hurren fanboy. I believe this is all a fantasy track. I don't believe this is based on any real life track at all, but this is Battle Creek, and I've seen some very positive things about this so far. Just doing this little like flyby right here, it looks really sexy, but also just looking at the ruts in the corners, it looks like they hold you super well. So we're going to get my first impressions on this. And one thing that I noticed, that I'm sorry, this is very geeky, very nerdy. I know not everyone will appreciate, and I'm not sure how well YouTube does it justice. The water here, or I guess you could say the wet patch of the track, has no right to look as good as it does, and I've had to zoom right in to see what's going on. I didn't know if it was like a 2D plane that he added or if it all was just done on like textures, and it is just textures. Like, he's made it super reflective, so it looks like it's glowing like water as if it's wet, and it looks so good. Like, just insane stuff. I know not everyone will even care about things like that at all, but I am a massive nerd and fanboy when it comes to these little details on tracks, so I hope you don't mind me doing so. I mean, some of the corners look brutal. Like, that looks so difficult to go through. It does say that it's got sand physics applied to it, so I'm guessing the whole track might be sand. I've not actually set a wheel on it yet, so we'll cross that boat when we come to it. But I'm very excited. Let's get into it. If you've been putting off buying that new MX gear, or you're just looking for some new daily MX related clothing, then head on over to fxrracing.com. Code MXPR_Lins15 at checkout will give you 15% off all motocross and lifestyle products. This code is applicable to the European, Swedish and Norwegian websites, and not Canada or the USA. And whilst I've got your attention, you may as well subscribe to the channel. It's just one click of a button and it puts a big old smile on my face. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So, I'm going to do something that's probably going to annoy a lot of people here, and that is the bike that I'm riding. So I am on a CBMX bike, which, I mean, straight off the bat is usually quite frowned upon, depending on who you are. But I'm on a CBMX bike because it is a bike that I used to own. It's a 2009 Yami 250 four-stroke. To give you a little bit of backstory on these bikes as a whole, the reason they're frowned upon is either all of them or a very large majority of the bikes within the CBMX pack were taken from other games. Now, some people don't mind that at all. They don't mind taking from big corporates because, you know, they kind of have enough money, and some people compare it to games like GTA, where you can people take a lot of assets from other games and import it in, which is all well and good. Other people frown upon it quite a lot. I know I tend to, mostly from like a legal standpoint of trying not to get MX bikes in trouble, but I feel like it ends up being the liability of the modders over the actual game creators themselves. So the reason I think a few people might be unhappy with this, first of all, is because I don't have a link for these bikes. These bikes have been in my game for well over a year now. I've had them for a very long time, and they were usually something that I used to use for a bit of fun every now and then off camera. I never usually used to do videos on them at all. So they've just been sitting there dormant, and I thought, you know what, it's been long enough. Let's just add a bit of variety to the videos and just ride bikes that you don't usually get to see. And the reason I don't have a link for you is I believe they originally came from Facebook. If I Google CBMX bike pack, like, it doesn't come up, and I don't have a Facebook account anymore to go digging and searching for packs to release to everyone, so I do want to apologise on that, but I can't really provide the same thing for you. I mean, you can try and put links in the comments of this video. I believe YouTube automatically deletes majority of links. I've seen one or two still work time to time. I have no idea what its like detection system is like, but that's number one as to why I think people might be annoyed. Second reason people might be annoyed, and this kind of extends out to Mr. Hurren himself, which I do apologise for, is he does say on his shop post on this track that the track is made for OEM bikes and factory bikes. So not only is it probably never been ridden on the CBMX bikes or tested on the CBMX bikes, he does specifically say that it's for OEMs and factory bikes. So I'm hoping that this doesn't do the track too dirty by any means. Now, I've done the half a lap of it, before I pressed the record button to see if the bike was suitable, because the traction, especially on sand, and this entire track is sand, I did just, like you can hear it the whole way round. Obviously, it makes the track very slow-paced, because the traction on these bikes is not amazing on sand at all. I think it's pretty good on the standard soft soil that most tracks are built on, but this being a full sand track could cause some issues for these bikes, and you can see my average speed around the track isn't anything insane. However, the scaling of this track actually lends itself quite well to that slower speed. There's no jumps that I just can't get over full stop, and while the gameplay and the feel overall does feel a lot slower, it definitely feels like a much more realistic speed to be riding a bike at, rather than everything coming at you at 100 miles an hour. Now, I play on 115 FOV, that's 115. I've said that a few times, people think that I'm playing on 150. I was like, I couldn't even imagine going that high. I don't even know if you still can, unless you go into the game files and start editing stuff. So I feel like things usually come at me quite quickly anyway. So to have the game kind of slow down a little bit for me is actually really, really nice. And I'm still going around this track pretty wide open. You know, I'm getting on the throttle pretty damn early, holding it wide open along a lot of these straights. The suspension on this bike actually feels pretty damn solid so far. I've changed nothing about it. It's just as stock as she comes. And I have no idea how this track's meant to be ridden, if it's meant to be a little bit like slower and a little bit more technical. Definitely feels that way. Definitely feels like it's rewarding to carry as much corner speed as possible. Being a sand track, that's exactly what you want to be doing. The only issue I get is in corners like that every now and then, the front end will try knifing on me. So I have to be a little bit careful, turn a little bit like shallow, not be as aggressive as I usually would. And I just kind of, I guess I wanted to do a little bit of a tester to see how you guys feel with me riding some of these more frowned upon bikes. Because the other bikes that I've had in my game for well over a year at this point, which again, I don't even know where you find them, I just see people posting like the occasional rare Discord link to them from time to time, is the 85s. I usually, I think I've ridden at the 85s like once in the past 6 months or so, and that was just with Charlie in our own private lobby for a bit of fun. Those don't excite me too much, but I know a lot of my, I guess you could say fan base, kind of sounds a bit cringy, I guess a lot of my subscribers are of younger age. A lot of them do ride 85 bikes or even smaller. You know, some of you ride 60s, some of you might even ride 50s, you might be that young. So a lot of people like riding the bikes in game that they own in real life, which is kind of the whole reason that I'm doing this. Like, this is a bike that I don't own anymore, unfortunately. I did have to trade my 09 250 in to get my current 2020 bike. Was it 20? I can't remember if it's 2020 or 21. I want to say it's a 21 because I got it just before COVID hit and I got it like brand spanking new. So I think it's a 21. It's the first year that the 250s had the like tuner app that comes with the Yamahas. So I mean, some of you bike nerds that know everything about everything can let me know. It's really bad that I don't even know the year of my own bike because I just ride that infrequently. Either way, yeah, this bike used to be my love, I guess, before my current one. I used to call her the old dinosaur because she was a beast. You know, she's a heavy bike, carbureted rather than fuel injected. So if you got halfway through a race, she was red hot. It was very, very difficult to get it started again. I have definitely more than a couple of memories of kind of riding on wet days and dropping her mid-race and sitting there kicking for like 5 minutes or so. And it's definitely a bike that you had to learn the characteristics of, because once I kind of learned the best ways of getting it like started and getting it going again, it didn't cause me that much issue. But I remember originally moving from my 2008 Yami 125 over to this 2009 Yami 254 stroke, and I just, it was so difficult. I just felt like I was driving a tank. But yeah, definitely something you get used to after a while, and I do miss it. You know, I've done a couple of changes to it, like had completely custom graphics on it, which was made by Bentley from BGFX. Very, very, very nice stuff. I mean, I think he had I think it was a Black Friday sale going on, so the graphics were half price. So I went and got something fully custom. It was like fully blacked out with blue and yellow and white accents on it. It was very, very nice, very, very pretty overall, and a bike that I definitely miss. And I wonder what it's up to these days. I wonder if it just got sent to the scrap heap, or if someone's now out and about enjoying it. I do remember my dad's a very like private person. He likes his privacy. He doesn't like people knowing kind of like what's going on, like who people are. And when I sold that bike, it had, I believe it said Lins on the graphics on the side plates, and it also had, you know, like the God, what do you call it? It's like the air, like the canister on the side. I put a little like small number plate on that, which also had Lins on it as well. I remember he took a Stanley blade and cut them off like in the parking lot at the dealership just before we traded it in. So I mean, somebody got a bike with some holes in the graphics. I can't even remember how much I got for it in the end. It might have only been like 1,000 or so. It definitely did not go for much whatsoever. But yeah, as you know, as times change and you get more and more modern bikes that are much easier to ride, it's kind of hard to stay on the old boys. I mean, I could definitely see myself going like an old 2-stroke route, but for old 4-strokes, it's just not a bit of me anymore these days. I remember testing a friend's Yami, because he had a new one at the time, before I bought my current one. And I remember coming back after riding it for the first time and really struggling to explain, sand front end issue there, really struggling to explain what the bike done better, but it done everything a little bit better, which kind of all adds up over the course of an entire lap. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I think Yamaha make pretty damn good bikes just straight out of the box. Although I do think the stock Yam 250s, I mean, it might change a little bit in the last couple of years since newer models have come out. I find them to be a little bit flat sometimes, like a little bit lackluster when it comes to power. And I believe it's definitely different riding styles. You know, I know the Yamis, they tend to be a bit more, like you can ride on them a bit more chilled out, whereas if you went down like the KTM route, they operate best when you're like really high RPM. So different riding styles. I'm never a rider that just bangs it on the limiter in the air everywhere or rides in like a lower gear. I do tend to be more like, I guess, ride it like Ken Roxon-ish, where you're in a higher gear, kind of lugging the bikes around the track. So obviously that's on me. If a bike will definitely not pick up straight away if you're in a higher gear, that's just logic. And yeah, I definitely think the Yamis could do with a little bit more as of stock, but I never messed around with the tuning on it in the app. It all seemed a little bit gimmicky to me, being its first year like it. I loaded it up and had a look, and I didn't notice any like major differences from one map into another. But again, it's one of them things that over the last 3 years or so, I'm sure they've really kind of refined that and made the bike even better from stock. And I think if I was to go out tomorrow and buy another like 4-stroke, like modern 4-stroke, it would probably just be like a Honda 250. I think the Hondas look so pretty. A little bit of a soft spot for the Hondas as well as Yamis, because before I went up to the big boy bikes and had a Yami 125 and then 250s, I was a big Honda guy. That all through my 85 days, I always had Hondas. Really enjoyed them. So I've got soft spots for those two. I feel like I do just... I like the Japanese manufacturers over the Austrian ones. I think it's just a familiarity thing. Because I'm not in like a privileged enough position to go out and ride every single bike that exists. You know, you don't really get many like huge brand test days in the UK like you do over in the US, where you can try every single like CC of every single bike that you want. Not too much of a thing here. I'm sure if I search hard enough I could find something, but it would just probably mean a hell of a lot of travelling. But yeah, I've not had the luxury of riding every single bike there is in the world to compare them all to the other. Everyone's got their own preferences and such. So yeah, if I had to go out tomorrow, it'd probably be a Honda. If you ask me in a couple of years' time and Suzuki finally put an electric start on their bike, it would probably be a Suzuki, because I believe Suzukis look hella sexy, and I'm a bit of a fan of the colour yellow too. But overall, good stuff. I mean, this bike represented in game, it's not bad at all. Like, it's getting around the track. It definitely feels like it's struggling on the sand traction, but I knew that would be a thing already before I even pressed the record button. The other issue that it faces is because of this traction, if you over jump something slightly, the front end will knife and there's no saving it because of the lack of traction. So I just want to apologise, I guess, to Hurren, because I'm sure there's probably better ways of displaying his new creation. But also at the same time, not only does this create a nice little challenge for me in getting around this track smoothly and I guess fast, because it's actually a challenge to get around this track fast, it's adding a layer of realism to me. Because it's very easy to go fast on this game, especially in straight lines. But you can see me now along this straight, really struggling just to get the power to the ground, which is what a whooped out sand track should be like. You should have to manipulate the bike as much as possible over the bumps, like really get on the power early in the corners and roll on the throttle, not being like super... I mean, I guess you ride sand aggressive, you know what I mean? Like, really like apexing corners as much as you can and carrying as much speed as possible. And it's nice. I didn't expect it to kind of translate over like that. That water is so pretty. Oh my god. I'm actually such a geek. I'm such a nerd for things like this, and I hope the track creators get a little bit of a smile when I nerd out over these sorts of things. But I think it goes without saying, this track, as always, is another just very, very solid piece of work from Hurren. I'm very, very glad he's made it. I saw no teasers about this whatsoever. I'm glad that he's still blessing us with these tracks. I think this is his first one after he got finished with the Arena Cross series. Maybe mistaken on that, but I feel like my brain's telling me that's correct. And overall, really, really good stuff. It's just this main track here. There's a little bit of shenanigans going off over here. It's like there's a track, but it's not fully defined. If we go under this bridge, the bridge is part of the track as well. We see here he's got a couple of, I guess, like bumps or jumps like mapped out. I'm not sure if it's made for pit bikes, if it's just for a little bit of fun, like very, very shallow whoops here. So nothing super defined that's meant to be a track. I guess just something to mess about on with your friends if you get bored of the main track itself. But overall, really well built. Looks very, very pretty. I do like the kind of, I guess, like sunset vibes. It's very nice. It's got like kind of like golden hour like glow to it, and the track's really well built. These ruts are very, very nice, and it's really cool to see a track that has 3 or 4 ruts per corner, and all of them seem like pretty damn viable to ride on as well. So really well built. I hope you guys don't mind the bike that I used today, and I also hope you don't mind me not being able to provide a link, but I generally cannot find them. As they are. I've had them in my game for a very long time now. And that'll do it for me. Overall, I hope you have enjoyed. I've certainly enjoyed making it. Drop a like if you did, subscribe to the channel if you're new, all that good stuff. Have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!